in this video I'm going to show you how to retouch a photo like this. So as you can see, she has some blemishes and we want to clear up her skin. So let's make a duplicate of this layer, Control J, so that I can turn it on and off and see the changes that are made. We're going to get the spot healing brush. If you press J on your keyboard, it'll take you there. It kind of looks like a band-aid. And I'm going to go up here to, it's just basically it's a brush. So I'm going to make the size about 18. Make sure the hardness is on 0. We want a soft brush. And the reason why I have 18 for the size, it's just a little bit bigger than her blemish. So you see where my cursor is on her face. If I just click on these blemishes, they pretty much just disappear. Now you don't want to be going crazy and coloring all over, or it'll just start to look really fake and blurry. So I'm just pretty much going in there and clicking once or twice on each one of these blemishes to make them go away. Some of the things about her skin we're going to fix with some different filters, but this spot healing one is just good for the more obvious blemishes that she has. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, let's turn this on and off so we can see the difference. See, that made a pretty big difference just doing that. All right, so now we're going to do some edits to this here. I'm going to just call this one the spot healing so you can know the difference between each edit. We're going to duplicate that layer, Control J, and then I'm going to do a surface blur on this one. So let's go up to Filter and choose Blur and go to Surface Blur. And you're gonna, you can experiment with the radius and threshold until you get a look that you like, but I think this is pretty good. I was experimenting with it earlier and I think it works really well on her face. So I'm gonna say okay with that. And then there's just one other thing I'm gonna try. I think it looks pretty good like this. I just don't really love these pores right here. I'm gonna try to get rid of that without making it look too blurry and fake. So I'm gonna make a copy of this here, and I'm gonna call this Dust and Scratches, because that's the next filter we're gonna use on this. So go to Filter and go to Noise, Dust and Scratches. I'm gonna click on that, and now you can see I got rid of that bad looking pores. However, it made the whole photo look really blurry, and obviously we don't want that. So go ahead and look at my settings here for radius and threshold. It makes a big difference what you put these on. You can really get it super out of whack, and we don't want that. So I think somewhere around 7 and 16 works pretty good. And like I said, don't worry about the rest of the photo being blurry, because we're gonna mask out everything except for this area on her cheek. So let's say okay to that, and then let's make a layer mask. So you can go down here at the bottom and click layer mask, and everything that's white means it's showing through. If I paint black, it means it hides it. So we're going to get our brush tool and get a soft brush, and we're going to make it pretty big, and I'm just going to go ahead and let me make the opacity higher. I'm going to go ahead and put back everything except for that area on her cheek that we're trying to fix. So we need to get her hair back being sharp and around her eyes. And let's turn this on and off and see. All right, we can maybe bring back some of her nose. Let's turn that back on and make my brush a little bit smaller. Go ahead and bring the clarity back in her nose and her lips, basically everywhere except for some of this face. So let's turn that on and off. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, so that is how you can retouch a photo. You can even lower the opacity a little bit on some of these, like if it looks a little bit too blurry. That actually looks good now. I put the opacity down to 82, and that way I made that just a little bit more subtle. You can see if I turn that on and off. And okay, so let's turn off all these just so you can see what the original photo looked like. It had these blemishes. We used the spot healing brush to get rid of them. Then we used a surface blur to smooth out her skin, and then we used the dust and scratches with a layer mask to smooth it out even more.